everybody, Lonnie here with Valley Borders, Borderline. Doing a property this morning. It's huge. We're right outside of Bismarck, about 5 miles outside of Bismarck, in a big farm here, brand new house. One of our biggest landscapers. Really nice job with a lot of footage, right about 650 feet here. We're very fortunate up here in North Dakota where we have a lot of big properties. You know, our average house is usually 180 to 250 feet, but we get lots of 300, 400, 500, 600 foot jobs. This one's going to be all the way around the house, and I'll kind of keep you updated as we go here. It's about 400 feet around this house. This is a huge farm. They got a brand new shop over there. It's about 200 feet around that shop, and then we have an island out front. As you notice, maybe a little bit different from last year, previous years we've been doing videos here. One of our main issues is carrying enough material with us, and you know, a normal trailer like this is going to haul 4 or 4.5 tons of sand. Typically you're going to get you about 600 feet. Our problem here is now we're running a 5-man crew. Right now we got one pile driver, but we'll eventually have a second one going so we can go back and forth a little bit easier. But our main issue is we spend an hour and a half a day when we run out of sand to go across town to get more sand, more material, and go to the next job. So all that time wasted, we can be putting down another, you know, another job 150 feet or so. So another truck this year, another trailer. We take 3 trucks to every job, two trailers. We have this truck right here, that's the pallet of Portland is on that truck, so we don't haul any Portland on our trailers, so we can make sure we have enough sand. Well, we can do, you know, upwards of 1,200 feet a day without having to fill up sand in between, and really not adding that much more time as far as how many hours the guys work a day. So right now there's 5 of us. Drew a tray on the ground. This is a dark brown curve. It's a Driftwood. We'll kind of keep you posted. Yeah, we're moving right along here. You can see it's quite a ways. We'll be in the back of the house here. Again, sorry for the wind. You got long flowing lines on this. We're going to go around the patio here. It's my responsibility as a machine operator to make sure this thing flows, and I keep my parallel distance, you know, from this patio. So in other words, you know, I don't want it 3 feet here and then 2.5 feet here and then 3 feet there. I want to make sure I keep this all the way around. It's not so much his paint line, and his paint line looks really good. Once I get to this point right here, I'm essentially going to use the patio as a string line. It's a curve, but I'm going to keep my eye on that and keep the same distance as I go around. That paint line might be off a little bit. I need to make sure it's parallel to this. So as I come around there, I can go ahead and make sure that, you know, that's going to look good. If I'm going to screw this up, and hopefully I don't, but if I'm going to get off on my line, I'd rather be outside the line a little bit and make it wider than skinnier. The reason for that is it's easier for us to push it in against the curve than pull it out against the curve, if that makes sense. Because if you start pulling curve this way, you're going to start separating on that side because that's your weak point. You got a pinch point in the back of the curve, so you can actually push that in pretty easy and it'll stay together pretty well. So if I'm outside an inch, that's fine. We can move it in to make sure I get my line. So I just want to make sure I'm not too far in, and then we got to pull all that curve back out to match up with over there. So it's one thing that I can do on my end to make it easier for everybody else. Got a couple low spots here we need to fill in, and, you know, keep going around the house. Landscapers' paint lines are just a guide, okay? Typically 90% of the time they paint it like crap, and everything is you know, squiggly and wobbly and, you know, like that over there. I follow that. I put my wave in where I think it should go to where it's going to look good. They all know that. I've worked with the same guys for many years, and they just kind of let me go with what looks best. It's just part of trust thing. You can hear Robert's coming back with that next mix. The thing with the pile driver is it's wide open all the time. There's no reason for you to walk any slower or go any slower than that pile driver can take you. So again, hopefully by next week we'll have 2 of those, and he can just kind of go back and forth with them. It'd be a little bit easier on him, and Andrew on the other end won't have to wait as long for him to get back there on big properties like that. Different ways to do this. notice Trey jumps on the outside of the curb to try to get pressure on that backside. Okay, he's young and spry, he can do that. Typically I'll do the same thing as Andrew right here, is try to get my elbow on the outside of that curb to make sure I can get pressure going this way, because the cracking issues are going to happen on the backside right there. So running the machine too, also, you notice, you know, on that type of curb, I'm putting my pressure into the handle so I can get pressure on the backside of the curb. I'm directing pressure right down the left side of the machine to take care of that. On this curve, which is an inside curve, I'm going to direct pressure on the outside of the machine, so I'll shift my body to the outside and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so if you notice, once I got to this point down here, I'm going to shift my body to the outside of the machine. It does a couple things. Obviously I can direct pressure with my knee and my leg this way into the curb machine, which is going to close up anything at the bottom. Okay, that's where my issues are going to be. Also, because I'm using the patio as some sort of a guide for me to get around there, I'm going to try to keep this spacing right here. What it does, I'll put this down. Okay, so when you're opened up like this, now you can see everything. You can see what you're doing, where you've been, and I can keep an eye on keeping this parallel, along with keeping pressure on the outside. I got my hand free to see everything here on my level. Okay, so I'm doing several things here, but right now, by being opened up, I can make sure that I'm parallel, and this is going to be whatever footage here to try to keep that the whole way, and that's the whole hope on that. I'm not actually going by the paint line itself. Okay, I'm going by what distance I started out with up there. Okay, now overall, you're going to look at this whole thing from as many angles as you can, okay, and try to see if, you know, you're keeping things parallel. Any little bumps and things like that you need to fix. You know, overall it looks good. I'm not going to be able to tell until I get one more mix passed, and then we can really, you know, get a good look at what, you know, from every angle, if we need to do a little bumping. This whole situation here, we got downspout, downspout, downspout. If those aren't extended for some reason, or the water's not coming from the roof outside the curb, it's all going to go to the bottom of the patio here. If even so, direct rain and snow melt is all going to go to the bottom of the patio. So we're going to space out about 4 drains here at the bottom of the patio to let all that water drain out away from the house. If not, after a storm, there's going to be there's going to be a moat here at the bottom, 4 inches of water to the top of the curb. It's a 4-inch concrete dam. It ain't going anywhere, so you got to let it out, and that's going to save yourself from getting sued one time, especially in a situation like we're in, where most houses have basements here. Okay, so overall this doesn't look good. We'll take a look at it after the next mix, and we'll really be able to tell if I screwed this up. So overall, pretty happy with this. Every angle we look at this from, it's pretty parallel. It's pretty level going across the back here. You know, once they get the rock and the grass filled in, it's going to look really nice. You can see I got Trey basically spacing out 4 drains here. Talking with the landscaper, and you know, my opinion, you know, you got all these downspouts here. The water's going to settle at the bottom here, and you're going to have people that will tell you, I don't like the way those look. You'll have customers say, I don't want you to put those in. That's not up for discussion. They're going to get put in. Because those little things right there, because, you know, yeah, they don't look that great, but once the grass and the rock is in, you don't notice them. That looks a lot better than 4 inches of water in their basement, or 4 inches of water around their whole deck here, and they're calling you back to put them in. I had one customer do that to me, didn't want them put in. I had them sign the invoice stating they didn't want them in, and that I'm not responsible when their basement floods. It happened the next rainstorm. They called, wanted me to come back and put them in. It's not my, we could have did them at that time. So I had him go get a rent a concrete saw, and he put them in himself, because obviously we didn't know what we were talking about. Now what I'm doing in between each mix, okay, it takes a couple minutes for Robert to get back with that next mix. Again, I got a 5-man crew here. If I'm not working ahead when I'm running the machine, I got got two guys taking care of all the finishing, it's not an issue. But if I'm not working ahead and thinking ahead, it's going to cost us more time at the end for cleanup and so on. So once I'm done, okay, I'm sealing this whole thing. Okay, now we seal everything same day. That can easily be done, correct sealers and so on. There's no reason you should have to come back and seal any curb unless you absolutely want to, but there's no reason that you have to. Okay, so in between the last probably 8 mixes, I've been running over here grabbing the sealer and I've been sealing. So this is already done. Now with the wind that we got today, also 20-mile-an-hour wind, it rained yesterday, so it's not really fluffy dirt, so there's not a lot of dirt blowing. The thing is, especially with colored curb, when you get dirt blowing and it gets on the curb before you seal, now you're sealing that dirt into the curb. So for us, I want to make sure this is sealed before any wind comes up later, let's say in the next hour before we clean up, where this gets really dirty. Then you're gonna have to wait to come back another day, wash it off and seal it. Okay, so you're saving yourself time. So I'm running through this and sealing this whole thing. You know, you can see how that's kind of a pain with the wind. Obviously, you got to take a little bit more time, and you get overspray and things like that you got to be careful of. But I'm working ahead. I'm making sure that I can have all this sealed by the time we get up and move to the building over there to finish what we got to finish. Okay, so we're done with the house. Again, everybody's got things to do. Nobody's has to say anything. You'll run the wheel. I'm gonna finish spraying. Trey's finishing the end over there. Andrew and Robert are getting that trailer ready to move. We got to go, you know, a little ways down the road here to do their other part of the property. So we're going to go ahead and start on the other mixer and so on. Robert will run a shovel on this real quick to make sure we can clean up the sides. And you know, we're pretty much going to be done with this part. It's about 400 and some, I believe, and then we got another 250 on the other side. We did run out of sand in the first trailer. We did a job this morning, so we probably had 550 feet of sand in there, so that is empty now. And so the great thing about, you know, pretty fortunate to have great guys and a really good business. So I have that second trailer handy. Go ahead and go right down over here to this, and they're loading everything up. We'll go down there, we'll go start mixing and everything from there, and finish out this whole job here without having to go fill sand. So it works out pretty good for us. That's not something that, you know, it's taken years for me to get to this point with the amount of business and landscapers and all that. So you know, goals, I guess. It's been a goal for me for a long time, and it's finally you know, happening this year.